Hello, Lisa.
Hello, Alex, and hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sober Experiment podcast by Be Sober. I am one of your hosts, Lisa Joanne Ellsworth.
Just because now she wants to prove that she does know her own name. And I am Alexandria Hannah Walker.
What a beautiful name.
It's a very long name, isn't it?
And yeah, but it's beautiful. I love
Thank
your
you. So
name.
is yours, actually. Lisa
Thank you.
Joanne. I like Lisa Joe, I think, more.
Yeah, I like Lisa Jo.
Yeah, that's who you are, isn't it, Lisa
I
Joe?
know, but my nail lady's also called Lisa Jo.
There's only one Lisa Joe for me.
She's not many Alexandrias, is there?
No, but nobody can say it anyway. So I'm not an Alexandria either. I'm an
Yeah, but
Alexander.
I've seen like Alexandria when I've been abroad quite a lot, like Alexandria Street and stuff. Because I always take a picture. I don't know whether I ever send it
Oh,
you,
here
but
she goes again with these imaginary pictures.
I've got one from last week and your captivating tale of organs. I took a picture on my trip to Iceland of the organ
Right. So last time, I'm
in the
pretty sure it was last
cathedral.
time on our podcast, Lisa said about how she takes photographs of organs for me. And I just want it on record that I've never seen one. Right. So
I'll show it you right now.
she obviously, right, takes these photos and keeps them for herself. So it's not my fascination with organs at all. It's Lisa's fascination with organs. It's Lisa's fascination with my fascination of organs.
I'm
That's what
um,
it is.
I'm gonna show it you right now. You keep talking while I find this picture of an organ.
I hadn't even said about my name yet, but you know what I do with my name while you're looking for the organ picture? When I
Yeah.
write it, I write my full name so people don't think I'm a man. But when I say
Ah,
it,
yeah, because of
yeah,
Alex.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
always getting called. And because I'm married to a Sam, we walk in somewhere sometimes and people look at us and you can tell they're going, who's Alex and who's Sam? Because they're both unisex names.
Yeah, they are. Do you
Yeah,
reckon they've expected either two women or two men?
maybe.
They
Yeah,
could have
maybe.
done, couldn't they?
Yeah, they could
Oh,
have
I
done.
can't find this picture of an. It's
See,
here, it's here.
oh, hang on, it's coming.
Right, so that's a bit of the organ, like in
Yeah,
the church. And then I took a picture of what's that bit?
there's some pipes there. Yeah.
Yeah, a load of pipes.
Photographs
See,
of pipes.
I,
So she has
I
taken them,
took that
right?
for
But
you.
well, it's for me. I've now seen it. I feel gifted. Thank you. So let me tell you what this where this conversation's come from. So basically, we've just been doing an advertisement for our podcast. And in it, one of the lines that Lisa had done on the description said, a highlight. This is on the Matt Pink podcast, which you'll have all listened to. One of the highlights is Alex's fascination with organs. I can't even say it. Alex's fascination with organs. Tune in to hear Alex's captivating tale of organs. Right? I ain't got a captivating tale. I don't know where that
But
comes
at the
from.
time, you think it is, don't you? Like you talk about him a lot. I was being nice.
Well, I didn't have a captivating tale of any organs last week. I was just saying that I'd seen one in Manchester Cathedral and taken a photo of it. But now I've got two captivating tales.
Oh God.
My first one is that I'm going to Manchester Cathedral to watch somebody play the organ in July. How captivated are you lot?
Please don't switch off. We have got a good podcast coming. Please hang on in there, guys. Hang on in while
Well,
Alex tells us our
if you
second one.
the second one actually is quite a funny one, but not
Yeah.
funny at all. And I'm actually a little bit mortified. So, one of my biggest fears at the church is like, well, not only I've got a few, but like playing a tune wrong or playing it not enough verses and everyone carries on singing, or playing too many verses on my own. And the worst it ever got for me, right? There's this bit in the service called the gospel. And in the gospel, everybody goes to the middle of the church and it's quite ceremonial. It's quite, old style worship. And I have to play a very quiet piece of music when all the servers and the vicar and the clergy walk back from the centre to their seats up in the high altar and so on. And I must have been distracted. This is a few months ago now. I was distracted and I heard the congregation all say this line together, which I thought was the end of the gospel because they all say something together at the end, but it wasn't. It was the start of the gospel. And I started playing this tune just as the vicar started to speak the gospel, which was highly embarrassing, but I got away with it. I just stopped and like they carried on and everyone thought it was a little bit amusing. But this Sunday was by far the worst fuck up I have ever made.
I feel like as an organist for the church, you're not allowed to say fuck up.
Well, I'm not on the church podcast right now, and I won't swear when I'm in the church presence. But honestly, I wanted the floor to open up and just suck me in through an escape route and for me to leave and nobody see me ever again. It was awful. So I'm going to tell you what happened. So beginning of the service, Vicar comes on, always says welcome to everybody. It's streamed on YouTube. So if you want to go and have a look at the fuck up that I'm talking about, please feel free. It's there under St. Michael and All Angels YouTube channel. You can see it for everybody. And he welcomes everybody and then he says, please stand. I think it was somebody else said it actually. Please stand for our first hymn, announce the hymn, and I play. I literally had about 15 notes to play to introduce it in, and I'm telling you, 12 of them were wrong. It was awful. It was unrecognizable. You couldn't tell what anyone was going to sing. And you know, like that saying, the show must go on.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't. I just stopped playing. I leant my head over the balcony and said, let's try that again.
See, that's not a massive fuck up.
Oh, it was awful.
I bet everybody was all right with that.
Well, they actually laughed. I heard a few giggles, right? And then I started playing it and I did it right. And then everybody marched around to their spots. But because I was so self-absorbed in the fact that it had gone wrong, I then actually let one of my worst fears come true. And I carried on playing after everybody's verses had finished.
But do you think people would know? Because if I was there, I wouldn't know.
Well, they did know, and I'll tell you why they know. Because the vicar looked up and he's on full view for everybody and did the cutthroat sign of stop, Alex, stop.
Oh, that's worth going on YouTube just to see the vicar doing the cutthroat.
I don't see him doing it because he's at the side, but you might. So you should have a little look. But yeah, there you go. So all of my worst fears now came true.
What a captivating tale.
And if you're still with us,
out of the description.
That needs to come into this week's description. See, I've now given you a captivating tale.
Yeah, about an organ. Who'd have thunk it?
Thunk. Come on, tell us about you. Tell us all about Iceland. You've just been to Iceland, haven't you?
I have, yeah. There's not much to tell, Rick. Well, there is, but I feel like I've told you so. All I'm going to say is it was literally an amazing experience, and I feel like everybody in the world should go, even just for a few days, just to try it out.
I reckon you couldn't afford to go for more than a few days.
You definitely couldn't. I will tell you about that. So it is really expensive, and a lot of people had said that it was expensive, like ridiculously expensive.
Was it more expensive than you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Well, they'd said it was really expensive, so to eat street food and stuff. So that's kind of what we did. I thought we don't really go out for meals anyway. And kind of in a country like Iceland, I could think of nothing worse than getting ready to go out for a meal. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, because you're out and about and you're trying to be comfy and warm.
Yeah, comfy and warm. So like you don't want to wear going out things. I feel like that would be just so weird. So I thought, oh, we'll be all right because we won't be going for meals. But I think we were stopped and got coffee and cake, and that was like 40 quid for a coffee and cake each. And then we went to the geezers and I thought, oh, I'd seen some bracelets about and seen it's all in ISK, right? So cash wise, I changed 200 quid and thought I'll use my card if I need anything. But we've got thousands of ISK for this 200 quid. So I thought, oh, I feel like we're loaded. Anyway, I saw these bracelets and I thought, oh, I'll get me and the girl.
Like a friendship bracelet.
Yeah, like a little volcanic what is it? Volcanic
volcanic rock on a
yeah, just a little one, not too big, just nice. I thought,
on like a leather band.
Oh no, not a leather band.
Like a band.
Yeah, for those that are watching, I will show you the bracelet.
Right, and if you're not, I'll describe it, right? So it's literally a band, and it's got beads of what look like volcanic bits of rock and a little charm on it.
Yeah, it's cute. It's nice.
Cute, it's nice,
not, not tacky. It's nice. Anyway, went to pay for it. Didn't really listen, just beeped my card. And then when I walked away,
You bought 4, yeah?
I bought 4. So when I walked away, it like buzzed me, my Monzo app, and I looked and I was like, oh my God. And Rob said, how much were they? I said, you know what? It just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We were only going to be A1s and it's absolutely fine. But I looked and these 4 bracelets, just like trinkets from your holidays, 206 quid. I wanted to die.
£51.50 per bracelet.
Yeah. I messaged the girls and my mum. I said, I hope you like these bracelets.
Oh, no.
And then when I brought it back and I said to my mum, I was like, you wouldn't know, would you? And she was like, oh, no, you wouldn't. All right. You could make me feel a bit better.
Oh, I do love your mum. She's so funny.
Oh, but it was incredible. It was beautiful. We were really lucky with the weather. It was -10 in some places, but blue skies everywhere. It was just an incredible experience.
What was your favourite bit?
So, weirdly, it wasn't being outside. There's a thing called Fly Over Iceland that we'd got recommended to do. And we was a bit like, oh, it's an experience. And I thought, oh, well, do we really want to do that? Because you're not really flying over Iceland. You're going into this centre.
Yeah.
It's like a bit of a 4D experience. Anyway, we ended up doing it on the last day. And you literally feel like you are flying over Iceland. I think it's the nearest you would ever feel to real life flying, like real life. It gave me goose pimples from my head to my toes, and it actually made me cry. Like going,
So like you had a bird's eye view of it?
yeah. It
Oh,
showed
right.
you afterwards that it had been filmed on a helicopter, and it would nosedive into the mountains, but it went through all the seasons and all the colours, and you just felt like you were really fit. It was the best experience of my life. I swear to God, I loved it.
And you saw the Northern Lights?
We did see the Northern Lights, which I believe we're very, very lucky to, because there's so many people gone that haven't been able to experience that. But yeah, we got to see. You know what? Actually, on the way back, Rob said to me, he was like, "Can you believe that we went to Iceland, saw the Northern Lights on a leap year, and you didn't ask me to marry you?"
Oh, was it on a leap day as well?
Yeah, it was. And I was like, oh, yeah, I said that would have been a really, really good opportunity for somebody that.
Just not me, mate. Just not me.
Just not me. Not me.
Oh,
absolutely.
Brilliant.
I couldn't. Could you propose to somebody?
No, but apparently I can be proposed to and accept 3 times. So.
But could you? Do you think it's like, I know people do it, but I would not be comfortable with that.
I don't know. I mean, I muck around with Sam and say things like, oh, Sam, will you marry me? And he always goes, yeah. You know, like.
Yeah, but
so,
you are married.
I know. So I do muck. I don't.
Well, that is nothing like it. If he had not
Yeah.
asked you, would you have asked him?
No, I just said to him, you better ask me now or I'm off. I did make him ask me in the end. No, I did.
I feel like I just could never, even if I really madly wanted to, I could not ask somebody to marry me. I'd feel like always they had the upper hand in our relationship. Like they'd always think that I
You
love
like
them
them
more than they
more.
love me. Yeah. So no way. I feel like
That's
you're
so
giving
funny.
the upper hand away.
That's so funny. Well, at least I know I've got the upper hand then, because I was asked. I just forced it.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. That's all right.
Shall we talk about our guest?
Yeah, talk away.
I'm quite excited about this one actually, because it's somebody very different. We've not really had anyone like this on before, have we? It's always been quite alcohol based, and we've ended up talking about, and we had the sugar guy on the other week. We talked about addiction and so on, but this is a little bit of a different one. So we've got somebody called Brian Sanders on the podcast, and he owns Instagram account Food Lies, Eat Nose to Tail, and the Sapiens Center, and he's the founder of Peak Human and Food Lies, which are also two companies as far as I'm aware.
It sounds like us.
I know,
a
with
lot
million
of
jobs,
businesses,
a million jobs
it out all over.
Yeah, he's developed the Sapien program, and it's about transforming your health. That's all I'm going to say. And the reason that I'm so excited about him, I hope he can talk about this because I'm just preempting it, but I'm really excited because he's going against big food with his views. Like, he's got a documentary coming out and everything. And it's all like self-funded, and he's got quite strong views about the food industry. Certainly that's how it looks on his Instagram. And I thought that's quite like us with the alcohol industry.
Yeah, it'll be nice, a little bit controversial.
Yeah. I'm going to try my best to not give too many personal views, but I'm not sure I'll be able to do it.
Do it. I want you to add, Alex, I'm going to leave you to all these questions today.
Oh, no, don't be doing that. Don't be doing that.
I feel like I just want to sit back and enjoy the show today.
Well, look, no, we're not having that.
I know, but I've got a sore eye. So I feel like
Lisa's, yeah, this is what the description this week's going to say, everyone, right? Highlights Lisa's captivating tale of her sore eye. That's how much I talked about my organ last time when it was a captivating tale.
Well, she's made up for it today, guys. She's made
so
up.
Sorry if I've bored you. Oh, can I just ask you as well? Can you see how much my hair's grown?
Oh, I hate when you put me on the spot like that.
Just say yeah. That's how I got That's how I got proposed to. Right, let's get Brian in. So hopefully, Brian, you can hear us and your camera and mic's coming on.
You're going blurry, Alex?
Oh, I don't know. Am I going? Yeah, that on my wall. Why did it unblur it? Was I showing you something?
I don't know, but I feel like if you hadn't have done it, I'd have not been able to concentrate until I
went blurry again.
Yeah, so for those on audio, we're talking about our screens and Alex's background being blurry.
Yeah, I always have it blurry.
Hello.
Hi, Brian. How are you? Can you hear us?
Oh, I finally got audio. There we go.
Oh, we can hear you.
All right.
We can't see you yet, though. It's just got a funny sign up. Ah, there you are. Hello.
Hey.
Nice to meet you.
Hello. Yes. How's it going?
Good. Thank you.
I've got background envy. I'm loving this all behind you.
I know I've had to blur mine out because I've got ripped wallpaper.
Yeah, I finally upgraded after a couple of years of not having anything.
Yeah, it looks really cool. It does look cool.
Let me just tell you a little bit about what happened and how we found you. So, how I found you initially. I'm a fitness instructor. Okay. So my job's a fitness instructor. But I don't particularly like the message that the course gives you, as in how we should be eating. I don't know what it's like in America, but in the UK, we've got the food pyramid. And basically all the white processed foods and the sugary foods and the fruits are on the bottom. And then there's this tiny little section at the top that says meat and dairy, where it's recommending that the bigger the piece of the triangle, the more of it you should be eating, right up to the top, which are the tiny little things of meat, and basically the good sources of protein and fats are in a tiny minuscule amount. Obviously, we've done the watching of various documentaries on Netflix, some that you have mentioned on your own page. And then I got digging around in the background and looking for who funds some of the work to release those huge documentaries, and found out that actually it's the Beyond Meat organizations and various other vested interests. And it just got me thinking that with Lisa and I running Be Sober, there's a massive parallel, in my opinion, between the alcohol industry pushing alcohol and talking about how amazing it is and how good a time you can have versus the reality of that. And I think similarly with the food industry.
Yeah, that's exactly right, actually. And it's crazy is that when you start changing your diet, people people tell me they actually stop drinking alcohol or they drink way less. It's very interesting.
Oh, well, I think once you can realize that something's poisonous in whatever way or not good for your body, you start to become aware of everything that's not good for your body and start to dig a little bit deeper. And I don't know, I mean, I don't know what they say out there again, but again, I feel like Lisa and I often talk about the fact that we might be in the Matrix, you know, like, and everything isn't real. Everything's sort of opposite of what we're told.
Yeah, I think that a lot. And well, I actually figured it out why that is kind of true, though. It's because everything that's good for people in charge, if you're trying to manage an entire nation or on even on the world level, you have to make these what's good for you is bad for the individual and vice versa. So it actually makes sense that recommendations are backwards. So you have to think about it a little bit harder. Like I think about like running a company too. And right, if you're the CEO of this giant corporation, you're not making rules for all the underlings that work in the warehouse for their benefit. You're making it so that your company runs smoothly. And
Yeah.
then you have to kind of realize that that's how all the world works these days in the modern society is we have billions of people now. And so it's just, well, how do we get them to keep in line and just be good consumers? And there's all the corporate interests. You're right about the alcohol and the big food, big pharma. These all are these same big corporate companies that have the same playbook that sponsor studies. They do lobbying, and the government, they do all the marketing, they do everything to just get it so that they can make more money and have more power. And then that is just usually bad for the individual.
So what about this kind of idea then that I do want to go back in a second and hear a little bit about what got you interested in this, because I understand from watching the intro to the documentary, which I also want you to talk about, that you weren't always eating this way and you didn't always believe in what you're talking about now. What about your thoughts around cows being bad for the world? Can I ask about that?
Oh, well, that's just part of the propaganda. That makes no sense. It's absurd. Like it's absolutely crazy. We've had animals for all of history on the land, especially large, giant animals like cows, bison, even bigger animals back in the day that became extinct. Huge animals that supposedly release methane that's bad. They're just eating grass, doing a good service actually by stimulating the growth of new grass, grazing and moving on, and providing manure and just more health for the soil. So it actually is a net benefit. And that's how we got all of our great soils and grasslands and just earth that we can now ruin. No, so now humans came in and ruined it, right? So we came to the Americas, right? And we the US, and this is this amazing new land. And we just went across it and planted monocrops base eventually and stripped the soil of all the nutrients and then keep moving on. So the easiest way to do the cow discussion is think about there's two different cycles of this methane or CO2, right? You have this cow eating grass. So the CO2, where did this come from? Where did methane, as part of this cycle, CO2, it's kind of this it's same process. Where did the cows didn't invent the CO2 that they're just putting in the atmosphere out of nowhere. It came from the grass they're eating, right? So the photosynthesis, the CO2 went into the grass, they ate it, it goes through their digestive system, 4 stomachs, and then some of it goes out as methane, a lot from burps actually. And then that goes up into the atmosphere. Methane has a 10-year life, and then it turns into CO2 and then comes back down into the grass. It's a harmonious cycle that's always been done. And we don't have more animals. It'd be a problem if we added like 1 billion animals each year. Then that would just keep growing and growing, and we would keep having more and more methane. But that's not what's happening. That actually, if you look at over the past like 60 years, I forget if it's in the US or the world, the cattle population is actually going down. We actually are more efficient at raising cattle, and so we need less of them. So the herd size is pretty the same or going down a little. So that's not the problem. So the methane that they produce just goes back to CO2, back into the grass. It's this harmonious cycle. Okay. And then we have the real problem, which, well, is just corporate industry and all these giant industries that put 96% of the CO2 in the atmosphere. But then if you're looking at that, okay, these are from fossil fuels. This is carbon deep within the earth that is then taken out and burned and put into the atmosphere. So that's a different story. That's a one-way street, right? So it's like we're taking this carbon that's been in the earth for millions of years and burning it and releasing it. So that's just doing all the damage. And then you have the cow sitting there in this harmonious cycle doing nothing. And this is the playbook. This is how it works. Alcohol, food, even meat. They have these propaganda techniques that always have to have a scapegoat. They would need to blame someone else for the problem or blame something else. And so for their products and processed foods to be good, meat and dairy has to be bad. Or you need some kind of scapegoat. Same thing with health. Oh, why are we having heart disease? Oh, it's a fat. It's a saturated fat. It's insane. It's all we know why we have heart disease. It's back in the day, people were smoking and they're eating processed foods, and they started eating all the processed oils, and there's Crisco and margarine. This started in the 1950s with President Eisenhower. It's kind of the main story that I've heard is more in the US with our president had a heart attack and in the 50s, and they're like, well, what's causing these new heart problems? And like I said, so it was smoking. People were smoking like with their baby in a closed car. And it was crazy. And they were eating the processed food started coming in a bigger way. The fake fats were coming in a bigger way, right? All the Crisco was invented in the 1910s, and that was finally taking its toll on people. And that's why we have heart disease. Instead, they blame it on saturated fat and cholesterol, what we've been eating for all of history. So there's always a scapegoat. So in the health world, the scapegoat is saturated fat, red meat, and cholesterol. In the sort of emissions and environmental world, they'll blame all of the stuff from big industry and fossil fuels, that blame that on cows. And then vegans just repeat this nonsense in documentaries on Netflix. And then James Cameron funds these things, and he has $140 million invested in the pea protein companies. It was kind of just like a big advertisement for his pea protein investment.
So I was just going to ask you why, but you've answered it. It's money, yeah?
Oh yeah, it's always money. It's it's kind of as simple as that. I mean, some of it's like power, right? It's like just more influence, but that really comes back to money too.
Yeah. I was just going to say that it doesn't matter what kind of diet you choose to go on, you will always find something to back that up. Does that make sense? So what I kind of want to ask is how, for people that don't know who you are or what kind of food you eat, because I know we've dived straight in, but I'd be like, well, what are you meant to eat? What do you do? So can you just kind of go back a little bit and tell us a little bit about yourself, what got you looking into all of this? And then please tell me what to eat.
Oh yeah, that's very simple actually. It's so simple. It's so simple. So 10 years ago, I lost both my parents to chronic disease, and they just followed our food pyramid, and they did it well, and we cooked our own meals, and we didn't go out to eat, and we were doing things very well. Like I actually remember it clearly because I didn't like it. I didn't want to eat the food pyramid. I wanted to eat McDonald's, right? I'm growing up. I want to eat fast food. We did not get fast food. We got low fat products and bread and whole grain pasta and sandwiches with the light mayonnaise and the lean chicken and the whole thing with the fake dressings. And they eventually got these chronic diseases because that's just what happens. It slowly gets you. And the doctors don't know it. That's part of the story is the CDC, our CDC admits 9 out of 10 people with prediabetes don't know it. Right? Wow. 90% of the people are walking around with prediabetes and they don't even know it because doctors aren't trained in this. They're just trained in how to give more prescriptions and more pills. They probably could figure it out better if they could make more money off it. But my parents went along their life, got sicker and sicker without knowing it. No one told them. And then they get these chronic diseases that everyone's dying of now. So that woke me up. I made some simple changes to my diet and completely changed my life. Lost like 25 pounds of fat. All my problems went away. I had so many things. I was 30 at the time. I was getting the dad bod. You kind of get the little belly going. You have,
Yeah.
I couldn't play all the sports. I had bad knees and joint pain, all these different inflammation in my hands and wrists. I had acid reflux. I had um, all kinds of stuff. And I changed my diet and it just went away. And I just, for 10 years, I've been living better than I did in my 20s. And so the simple thing I did was just cut out these three things. I mean, these three ingredients make up most of processed foods, and it's added sugar, refined grains, and seed oils, or any sort of vegetable oils, right? We generally call them seed oils.
Mhm.
And if you look at all three of these things, they make up 70% of people's diets, really, and say 70% of the grocery stores. And all these products are made from these highly refined ingredients that we never really ate before. I mean, yes, for since agriculture, we were eating some grains, but these were different grains, right? These are more natural grains, not covered in glyphosate. They were not hybridized for to make them giant. And actually, Europe actually has somewhat better grains. People say they go to Europe and they're like, "Oh, I can eat the pasta in Italy," and it's just not the same stuff. The highly processed stuff that you get in the stores everywhere else is not good, and it's highly refined, and it just affects your body in a different way. And we could get into some of the details as we go, but the simple message is that if you get rid of these three ingredients out of your life, you're actually gonna do so much. Your whole life will change, and you don't even have to know why. You don't, and you won't be able to eat all these foods in boxes and packages, and you won't really be able to eat at fast food restaurants unless you say, "Oh, well, maybe just give me some burger patties." And there's kind of ways you can get around it, and
Yeah.
you'll feel amazing. Your whole life will change, and it's mainly these three ingredients. And then, I mean, we could go into all kinds of details of beyond that, but that is the absolute basics.
Do you feel like you miss out? Do you feel like you miss out on things because, like, a lot of our members will naturally cut out alcohol and then go for cakes? It is something that happens quite commonly in our field. And one of the things that we get is, oh, well, I don't have any alcohol anymore, so my only treat, the word
Yeah,
treat comes into it.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? The
that
word
no,
treat.
that's a common thing I've heard too. So I don't feel like I'm missing out at all because I eat the most delicious foods that I've always loved since I was a kid. I've always loved red meat, and I eat burger patties with cheese on them and pickles and sauerkraut for dinner. And it's amazing. It's delicious.
Yeah.
And and then I eat actually fruit for dessert. So, like I'm not eating tons of, so, there's a difference between refined sugar, added sugars, and, a whole piece of fruit. Although, I mean, our fruits are hybridized and giant and very sweet nowadays, but still, it's a great dessert. That's all I need for dessert. I have, apples and blueberries. I am great. I feel amazing. So I do not feel that. And then I think there's this problem with change. So it's always hard to change. And so people don't want to make these changes. And there's also different vices people have. And so they want to just switch the vices.
Yeah.
But with I think there's something to do with the gut health. And that's kind of a big topic in the last 5 years. It's different,
Yeah.
right? The microbiome, people are talking about probiotics. Oh, eat like so many things like that. So with the alcohol and the sugar, beyond just the vices of like the treats and sweets, there's something more to it that I think is that if you keep these foods in your diet, and alcohol is like a grain, right? Or yeah, it's all pretty much grains. It's all pretty much sugar, and it feeds the same bacteria. So if you have these gut bacteria that want all the starchy foods, sweet foods, refined foods, alcohol is all in that, then they will keep wanting it, right? And if you kind of cut them off, I think so. I started off by saying a lot of people in my community stop drinking or drink a lot less just spontaneously when they start eating this way. And my theory is there's some of it is, you're doing healthy habits, so you kind of lean more into a healthy thing. But the main thing
Yeah.
might be that you've changed your gut microbiome. You've let all those species die off that crave the alcohol, crave the sugar. These things like actually talk to you. Your gut is called your second brain, right? And there's
Yeah.
actually connections straight to your brain that tell you. So these microbiome these species of bacteria can talk to you. They actually say, like, they get in your head. It's the same thing like alcohol. It's like,
Yeah,
go
it's
have a
true. I've
drink.
never thought
Go
of
have
it
a
like
drink.
Yeah,
that.
I haven't ever thought of it like that. And that's
Oh,
the
Well, they
most
literally
interesting.
do.
No, they
speak
talk to you, but
you.
I know it because when I was cutting out sugar, it's like,
Yeah.
you have the dessert, have it, get it, get it, get
Yeah.
it, get it. And you don't know how it's working. You think it's just your mind, it's your gut. And once you stop for a while, you could spend a month, get off all refined foods. Some people do Whole30, some people do carnivore, some people do keto. 3 good options. I do Sapien.
Yeah.
It's kind of like all 3 of those combined, right? It's more of a framework. I don't have a rigid diet, but it's the same principle of getting rid of all of the refined foods and going to whole foods and eating enough meat and dairy and all of these fish and this eggs. This is what I believe are the healthiest foods, and all my doctors and scientists I interview believe as well. And if you do that after a month, I'm telling you, these voices go away.
So, Amon, so if we were to do, because we're all about experiments, Lisa and I, if we were to do a 30-day Sapien experiment, you think we'd be like, all right, we're never going back?
I guarantee you, it might be hard. It might be hard. And people listening, I'm telling you, the change is hard for humans, right? You do not want change, but when you get to the other side, it's better. It's better.
You know what?
Right?
I love that, Brian, because we are so passionate about showing people that they can live a lifestyle without alcohol, and it can be fun and it can be amazing. And you know what? We always say that it can be really, really hard. That first 30 days even can be really hard, but we're so big on it. Yet we've never really thought about it with food as well. So it's really interesting to kind of hear you talk the same way about food as we do with alcohol. So I've got to believe you because you're saying the same words.
Oh,
and
it's the same.
like,
I know it's true though, but I'm here in Austin. It's kind of this health capital of the world now. It's a very interesting place these days. I don't know if people across the world know about it, but a lot of people are moving here, and it's just this big hub. And there's thousands and thousands of people around me that do this stuff. It is the most sober city. Okay, that's actually pretty crazy because it's the most drunken city and the most sober city. So we have
there's no moderation there, is there?
There's 2 sides to it. There are insane amounts of bars, and there's a 6th Street, and it's just mayhem, and there's like drunken people wandering the streets, and then there's the entire other half, and they're just sober and don't need alcohol, and they've made these changes, and it's a new lifestyle here. People, like, I have the Sapien Center. We have sober parties all the time. I go to all the events I go to are sober these days. It's just no one is even thinking about alcohol. And it's part of it is that having that community around you. It's making the healthy choices to start with your diet or your exercise, and then it could lead either direction. Maybe you guys can even look into the diet and lifestyle as a way to start people off that are having trouble, because if you start this, it's like same kind of detox type of thing. It's like get the alcohol out. If you get the processed foods out, you could just find that you don't crave the alcohol anymore. And
that's so interesting.
It is interesting. And we kind of do it from the other side. So we do have fitness as part of our offering at Be Sober, but I've never really thought about it as let's start there. You know what I mean? It's quite interesting. If you started with the food and you start teaching people the healthy habits, it's natural to take alcohol out, because I don't believe anybody believes it's good for you, except for the red wine industry, of course.
No, but it is hard, but you got to replace it. Now I'm thinking how to replace that, because I think if someone could do a 30-day challenge of the no alcohol and the no refined foods, it could be absolutely incredible, but it might be even harder.
Yeah.
They have not, but then I'm just trying to think, how can they replace it? Because I like to have some fun. I get it too, right? You want to have some treats in your life. You want to do something. I even have it on the weekend where I still have this idea that I want to change my mental state, right? Because I used to drink and stuff, and it's like the time to relax, and it's the weekend. So I'm trying to figure out how I replaced it. It's having the community around you or doing other fun things.
Absolutely.
Or if you do it together though, like you have to replace the treats though and the sweets. So do you guys have an idea of if you're going to cut out alcohol and you're going to cut out processed foods, if you do the hardcore 30-day challenge, I think you will be able to do it. if you have enough motivation and you have something that you can have fun with, do give people
I'm with
ideas.
you, Brian.
I am, yeah.
I think community is like so important, and people don't realize how important having a supportive community around is for things like this, because we've realized that with being sober, haven't we, Alex?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's so many of us that wouldn't have been able to do it without them other people going, I know how you feel, I get it,
And
I've
also
been
that
there.
we've replaced our weekend fun with things like going out cold water swimming, exercise, fitness, hikes, etc., etc., and it goes on. And it's very much similar to what you've done with the Sapien Center, I think.
Yeah. And that's the number one way to do it, is replace it with a healthy habit, but it's still got to be fun. But that's why you bring in the community aspect. And
Yeah.
like, because some people are like, oh, well, a workout's not fun. I'm like, well, if you're by
Yeah.
yourself, maybe it's not that fun. But if you do something with a group, or you got to find your community. I guess that's the number one thing, right? Is find at least
Yeah, I
one other
think it
person
is.
that's gonna do it with you.
Yeah.
Do you drink alcohol still, Brian?
I can, a tiny bit. So this is me. So I'm very interesting, because in the health world, a lot of people are black and white.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, these toxic seed oils, and like you're gonna die if you eat a French fry. And so with the food side, I go, all month I can go a month without eating fast food or any refined foods, and I just like to cook for myself. And
Yep.
then I go on a trip, and then I'm with someone, I'm at a birthday party, and they're like, oh, we have pizza. I'm like, okay, well, I'm eating pizza, and I have no
Okay.
problem. And then it's the same thing with alcohol. It's like I never had a big problem with alcohol where I'm like, I need to quit cold turkey. I could never drink again. So I'm kind of just like, okay, well, yeah, I'm at this party and someone's like, here's this wine. I'm like, all right, great. But that's for me. I can do that.
Yeah.
Right? Like I have no problem like just having the one drink, like 2 drinks at the max on a weekend, and then I'm totally good, and then I don't think about it.
Yeah, I
It's
guess
good.
if you've got it like that and you are kind of going, yeah, you know what, I can take that, I can leave that, I can live a mainly healthy lifestyle, and I accept that at times I'm not going to do that. That's a good way. If you can do that, it's great, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, and not everyone can do it. That's why I'm saying this is me, because I really know that alcohol is a different type of animal. And my
Yeah.
grandpa had alcohol problems, and my uncle did. So like I could see that. But if you can get to this level with me, it's kind of nice that I just have that flexibility. But same thing with food. Some people, they can't do it. It's all or nothing. So they
Yeah,
don't want to
it's
hear it.
true.
They're like, they don't want to hear this advice. Oh, just have it a little bit, because then it screws them.
We should swap
Yeah.
experiments, Brian. We should do yours and you should do ours.
Yeah, that would be really cool. You know what? We was looking at your Instagram before, Brian, and I've got to say, we both absolutely love this post that you put on before. And it's showing a bodybuilder who eats steak and eggs every day, and a billionaire who wants you to eat synthetic meat and soy. And we really like that post, don't we,
You
Alex? We were
shared it,
like,
didn't you, Lisa?
yeah, I did. As soon as I saw it, I was like, I'm sharing that. But it's really interesting because you mentioned before about interviewing a lot of scientists who agree with what you're saying. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And have you kind of come across anybody that's completely tried to disagree with what you were saying?
So I've interviewed about 300 doctors and scientists and some regenerative ag people over the last 6 years. And well, I mean, I do pick who I want to interview, but I did interview a vegan.
Confirmation bias.
Yes, exactly. So, but I did interview a vegan doctor, and we had an okay discussion. But the only people that disagree with me are the mainstream dietitian doctor people that really just got indoctrinated into the system in the right, like they spent 10 years in their medical training and medical school just learning all the wrong things, right? Just terrible information. And then so there's outdated information that is still out there, and that's still in the textbooks. So of course most of the nutritionists are going to disagree with me about that. And then the other people would be the vegans, and they're coming more from an animal rights view. So most of veganism is not about health. Some people find that they think it's healthy because they lose weight because they're basically malnourished. It's basically a malnourishment diet, that you can lose weight on, but you're going to eventually get malnourished. It's not a human diet. There's no cultures in all of history that have ever been vegan. It makes no sense. So yes, there's many people that disagree with me, but well, that's why I'm making my food lies series, right? It's because
I want to hear about this in a minute.
Yeah, it's like, it's giving the truth. And so we've always had the truth. We've always known what to eat and how to live. We've just gone away from that. I mean, you could look even at people's grandparents. Well, what did they eat? And these are the people that lived very long. You know, so many people around us, it's like they're telling stories of their grandpa. He's like, he lived to 96. He ate bacon and eggs every day for breakfast. I'm like, yeah, I know that these guys are way healthier than us now. Like our generation growing, we're going to be dying way earlier, having way more disease. Even if we die in our 90s, we're going to be in a hospital bed or be with disease the last 20 years of our lives. People are getting chronic diseases in their 60s. I mean, my parents got chronic diseases in their 60s. So this was not happening before. So that's why I say we always knew the answer. We always had it. We were eating whole foods. We were eating animal foods. We were not having as like, I mean, yes, bread is a processed food. So yes, people ate bread for 12,000 years, but it was not the majority of our diet. And we didn't have like Doritos and Mountain Dew and Twinkies and all this stuff. So yes, you can live okay life, pretty great life, like our grandparents did, on meat and eggs and fish and bread and, you know, other vegetables and fruits, and they were fine, right? And that's generally fine. But with our modern diet and lifestyle and all the foods that are out there, it's a completely different story. And so we always knew the answer. And yeah, what was the question again?
I can't even remember now.
It was about whether I can. It was whether you'd interviewed and you've answered it really.
Oh yeah. So I've interviewed. Okay, so I am not the doctor or nutrition scientist, but I'm a mechanical engineer, and I've interviewed 300 people. And my whole thing is as a communicator, trying to get this information across. And everyone thinks they're unbiased, but I think I am the most unbiased because no one is unbiased. That's not how it works. You always have a bias. And so, so people do disagree with me, but what I've learned is to take all the best information from all the best people that actually know what they're talking about and don't believe in the industry sponsored stuff.
Yeah.
And it all makes sense and it all agrees. And it's just whole foods and animal foods are great. This is what we eat.
When I went on keto a few years ago now, and this is what I was going to ask you about actually. And it's quite hard when you've got this because it's not just an individual problem. It's a societal problem in that we're all led to believe things are bad. So when I first went on the keto diet, I remember my mum took me to one side and basically said, this is really bad for you. You're having too much saturated fat. You're going to have high cholesterol. You need to cut down on this. You've got to start eating more fruits and vegetables, etc., etc., etc. And on it went. You know, and I mean, this is from my mum who has high cholesterol. She's very, very thin. She takes statins, etc., etc. She's very bought into that side of things. How do we change a population?
Make a series and get it on Netflix.
Yes.
No, I'm telling you, like, out of all the things I've ever thought of, people always ask me this. I ask myself this: the number one thing to do is to go where the people are and play the game, right? People, what do vegans do? They make documentaries and get them on Netflix. And people just want content, right? I'm not gonna change the medical system. They're not gonna listen to. There's no way. We're not gonna change the government guidelines. There's something called the Nutrition Coalition, and Nina Teicholz is an amazing author. She wrote The Big Fat Surprise, which is one of the best books around. Just amazing. Look her up. The Big Fat Surprise by Nina Teicholz.
Yeah,
it tells the entire story. If your mom actually read The Big Fat Surprise, she would not talk to you about this ever again. She would be like, well, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. And
she's already changing. Yeah, she is already changing. Yeah, I do have to add that disclaimer, which I didn't, is because I said she was on statins. That's actually false information. She did used to be. And I said to her, throw them in the bin, get off them. And she was really kind of nervous about it. But I showed her something. Have you heard of the lifestyle medicine doctor?
Asim Malhotra? Yeah, he's my buddy.
Yeah,
sure,
okay, all right. I want to speak to him as well. So I shared his cholesterol videos with her very, very recently, i.e. 3 weeks ago, and she threw all her statins in the bin after watching him. So she's already coming on board.
That's great. Oh, there's so many amazing people out there. I've interviewed 3 or 4 cardiologists about this. Asim, he's come to Austin, actually. He's great. And Dr. Malcolm Kendrick, he's from your parts. So that's a great one to find. In just even like presentations, just YouTube Dr. Malcolm Kendrick and cholesterol, and it'll change your world. So
because Dr. Malhotra was on Joe Rogan as well, wasn't he?
Yep. He was there. He there's, oh man, I'm forgetting these names. There's great Ivor Cummins. Have you heard of Ivor Cummins?
Yeah,
I've heard of that. Yeah, about
right.
Yeah, I think do we follow him somewhere?
I'm writing all these down.
You might follow him. He's on YouTube. Ivor, like IVOR, Ivor Cummins. He's all over YouTube, and he's been doing the cholesterol stuff, debunking it for years. There's Dr. Brett Scher. I shouldn't even give you all these names. It's too many names for people.
Diana Rogers. Do you follow Diana Rogers? I take it.
Oh yeah, Diana and Rob Wolf made the film Sacred Cow.
Sacred Cow. I read that book as well. Yeah.
Yeah. They're great.
Do you know what I want to ask? Because we get asked this, you know, like with alcohol, and people will accept that the government and make money from the alcohol industry, and they will openly accept that and be like, yeah, I get it, but why would they want to sell you all that food? What do you say to people when they say, but why would they do that?
Yeah, because you do get asked that, don't you, a lot? Why would they do that? I accept it, but why?
Well, this goes back to what I started in the beginning. What's good for them is not good for us. It's really about this top-down control and keeping people in line. And yeah, I've always thought alcohol was just a way to dumb down the masses. It's kind of like the book 1984.
Yeah.
Did you guys read 1984 or Brave New World? So Brave New World too. It's about, they have this pill, right? This like kind of ecstasy type thing that just numbs the masses, and they just care about the, just having good feelings, and they don't care about anything else. So I think in the past 4 years with COVID, I've kind of realized just a new take on the government, and how it's kind of like they just want to keep people in line, keep them dumbed down. That's just how it works. That it makes their job easier, and they get more money and power, and they just need to control the masses. And everything comes down to that. So you have this more cynical view. So since COVID, I had a more cynical view of how the world works, right? And how the world works is you understand why things are done. And I can kind of see them from their top view. They're just like, oh, why not? Have a couple drinks once in a while. It's not that bad. Why not? Everyone likes a pizza and ice cream. So I kind of, like they always have these ways to justify it. It's not like the CEO of Coca-Cola is this evil maniac. He's just like, I'm going to cause diabetes. He gets to sleep just fine. He's like, all right, well, I'm providing a great fun beverage for people to enjoy. People like it. They can have it, on their birthday party, and it's so fun. And so that's how they think.
Yeah. So do you think then, to be explicit, there's no deliberate intention of keeping the world sick or keeping the world poorly fed, or do you think there could be an element of that as well?
Oh, I definitely do. I have my tinfoil hat. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we've got ours as well. Don't worry.
Oh, okay, because that's what I mean.
Yeah, I've got to say, Brian, my mum is gonna love you. One of the sentences I've heard from my mum for the last few years, and I'm fully on board with, is they're trying to dumb us all down. They are trying to dumb us all down, and she gets really, really agitated with everything. She's learning now, and I suppose we're all learning to kind of dumb down a little bit.
Well, we got banned from advertising, didn't we, because of our unsavory comments during the pandemic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had 2 strikes on YouTube. I almost got kicked off of YouTube, and on Instagram too. I got blocked for many weeks. But no, I read a book called The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America. So check that one out. So that one traces this woman, Charlotte Iserby. It's not like a narrative book. It's just like a research book where she just went through the entire lasts 100. I think it started around 1900. That she did 120. Well, she wrote it a little while ago, but it's of course still stands, right? Because all this happened decades ago. That she just traced it, how the entire education system is set up for worker bees and not free thinkers, and that there was this deliberate dumbing down. And yeah, no, I like to talk about this stuff if people can kind of understand, they don't think that I'm a conspiracy theorist, which it sounds like you guys are on the same page. That
Oh, I hate that word, all those
all
words
part, well, yeah,
anyway.
it's a smear tactic. It's like how they smeared doctors that use natural medicine. They invented the term quack. So quackery, quack. I mean, that was actually a deliberate thing. That there's a whole thing called Rockefeller medicine. There's this little documentary called Rockefeller Medicine by James Corbett that talks about that, how they took over the medical system, actually. And the Rockefellers specifically, there's a lot of these big money families that can shape society, and they just, so
Well, I
part
think
of
I'm
it
right in
was,
saying they own a lot of the education system in America as well, don't they?
oh yeah, exactly. So that it's all tied in, and there's not just, we can't just blame one family. Some people, there's just like, oh, it's the Rothschilds, they run the world, and there's so much more to it. No, it's like, it's absolutely not just like one family running the world. It's these huge interests that spent 100 years putting themselves into power and changing systems. And yes, the Rockefellers found a way to make a lot of money on pills and procedures in this allopathic medicine. And so they wanted to get rid of all the natural medicine. So they invented the word quacks to discredit people. And it's the same thing they're doing now. They call people conspiracy theorists to discredit them.
Yeah. When similar sort of thing here, but I was thinking back, and I was talking to someone the other day actually about when I was a child, or a young child, maybe 10, 11 years old. And in the schools then we were talking about holes in the ozone layer, not cutting down our forests and not using paper, so using more plastic, getting rid of fridges because of CFC gases, acid rain. And all those things seem to have gone now, right? I haven't heard any mention of the problems with the ozone layer. Now we've got global warming. Now we've got, the need for medications. Now we've got all these new things that seem to have replaced these ideas. Even let's get rid of plastic and let's start using paper. What? So all the forests grew back, did they, in the last 20 years? Because I don't remember this happening.
So you've uncovered some things, and it's great, because I really think that there is this push that you have to have fear to
I was
drive
going to
these
say fear
narratives.
holds you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I got deep on this stuff. I didn't expect to talk about this online, but
Are you okay
I
with
went
talking
deep.
about this online, by the way? You okay with
Yeah.
it?
My friend actually got me into this. He started 17 years ago getting into these topics. And then 4 years ago, I finally started believing him. Once COVID happened, I was like, oh, okay, people can, that there is some control, that things aren't making sense. And then once I started learning from him, everything does make sense. And so, there's a lot of stuff going on that the high levels will push on people to scare them. Climate change, different things, catastrophe, the climate catastrophe. I mean, of course, there is something going on. We don't want to be pumping, pumping coal into the atmosphere. Like, this cannot be good. We don't want to be just polluting rivers. Like, there's so many things that are actually going on that are bad for the environment. But then there's some other stuff that's just scare tactics and fear mongering, and they're blowing up, just kind of like using statistics, How to Lie with Statistics, another good book. But there's ways to just put fear into people to control them into a certain way. And so a lot of that is done with climate. Some of that's done with viruses. Some of that's even done with terrorism, right? In the US, like every few years, there's these big things that now they have to take away the rights, take away more things, more security, more big. And I think these are these kind of invisible enemies, right? That we can't verify exactly. And that they're just pushing and taking more control.
And we're not saying, right? You're not saying here that these things don't exist,
Oh,
right?
of course not. Yeah, they
absolutely.
exist.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Nobody's sat here going, it's all lies. We're just saying it might not be what it seems.
Yeah, exactly. And it's what is the quote? It's like never waste a good catastrophe or something, right? It's like there's some quote about that. It's just, oh, okay, well, this happened. Now we're going to use this to change how we do this and make, now there's this whole new security measures. Now we're going to make, billions of dollars on this new security contract or war, or everything is just an excuse to get more of that money and power.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. Honestly, I could talk. If we don't get cancelled on this episode, it'll be great. It'll be absolutely great. But fear, you've just touched on fear, and I do want to go there. And I think fear holds people in place a lot with eating and with alcohol and with trying, changing diets and things like that, because there is a big unknown factor, and the fear of breaking away from alcohol, of the, I'm never going to be able to have fun again, or the fear of changing your diet. What if meat does cause heart disease, or those kind of things? They hold us in place a lot. I'd be really interested in exploring how we can unfrighten people, get rid of the fear with people. And I think the more podcasts like this that can go out, the more books, the more references. It's really hard though, isn't it? Don't you think? Really hard to sort of re-educate a population.
It is. Yeah, there's been indoctrination forever, and it's they always use fear. And I guess it's just communities. Again, it goes back to like groundswell and grassroots and community efforts to see people around you that, like I said, Austin, all these people are having fun and they're not drinking. Like there's going out on a Saturday night.
Amazing.
And then you see it. So people are hanging out at the Sapien Center and they're just like, oh, there's no alcohol around and everyone's having fun. What? Like, oh, like this makes sense. So I guess you gotta, kind of lead by example or find your community.
Tell us about the Sapien Center as well. Let's just, what goes on there? What is it?
So I moved to Austin 3 years ago. I escaped LA. California was a nightmare during COVID. Oh.
Yep, you're there.
Okay, I just switched my screen for some reason. And got here because I knew there was this community and I wanted to start an actual hub for people to like hang out and physically. I didn't want to just do it online. And it's a gym, outdoor gym a little bit. It's a co-working. We have sauna, cold plunge. We have a fire pit. It's really a community space. So I think people need more third places. This is good for some like your world.
We've talked about We've talked about it.
We have third places. That's on our vision board. I think a hub. We would absolutely love this
because there's no third places, and also the third places used to be the pub, which is actually not good anyway, right? So it's like the real third place should be something like Sapien Center. People need to find their own versions in their city to replace the pub, replace just all the bad third places out there.
Yeah,
I like that. The idea of the third place. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I do as well. I think people are looking for community. We're missing community, and I think, again, I know that's going back to COVID, but that was something that people were missing out on, was community and people and interaction. And it was such a lonely place for people.
It was a traumatizing time, wasn't it?
So I love that you've done that. I want one. I want a hub right now.
I want one.
Oh, and it's interesting with COVID, they left all the liquor stores open. These were the essential...
Don't get us started, Brian.
Oh, we had some rants about that.
Yeah, so I'll tell my quick story. I was in LA and I didn't know anyone who died, but the only funeral I went to was a guy that drank himself to death during COVID.
Yeah.
So that was the only death. I mean, I'm lucky, I guess. I didn't know anyone else who died during the last 3 or 4 years, except for the one guy who was just by himself and he drank himself to death.
Yeah, we know the stats have increased for people who are alcohol dependent. It's through the roof now in the UK as well.
And even in like the village where it's only a small village, and during that time, again, I didn't really know anybody that died from COVID, but I did know of 2 people that took their own life under the influence of alcohol and through depression. So yeah, it was a very, very sad time for things like that.
It was. Does boil down to community and isolation, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Tell us before we finish, because we've kept you for ages. But tell us about
sorry.
I know we're just so interested in you. Tell us about your documentary that's just about to come out, because you've had no funding for this, have you? You've just gone for it.
No, I crowdfunded it. It's all individuals, and we're still working with. We have episode 1 done, but basically it's a 6-part series that explains everything to do with food for once. It's never been made. Sacred Cow, we mentioned it's a book and it's a documentary, but it does not cover all that's needed to be covered. It didn't make it to a big platform like Netflix. There's never been something that gets all of this information in one place for people. Like I've been on the 10-year journey, and I just think the ultimate solution is to get something that people can just watch, right? It's like infotainment. It's, let's learn something, let's make it fun.
Infotainment. I
Infotainment,
like
yeah.
that.
And you can go out of this, you can watch, there's 30-minute episodes, 6 of them. And when you're done, you're just, I get it now. I completely understand food and diet and lifestyle and environment and everything. And I will never fall for another vegan trick. I'll never fall for government guidelines and he's stuffing us full of like processed grains and sugars and So yeah, foodlies.org. You can see the intro
When
there.
is it out, Brian?
I have no idea. I'm actually having a big event here in Austin on next Tuesday, to try to get some industry people. We have to play the game a little bit. We got to get the Netflix people to see it. We're just trying to work those angles to get it on a big platform.
Oh, fingers
But we
crossed,
still have
because
to
I
finish
definitely
it
want to
too.
see it.
Yeah,
To
there's a
finish
lot
it.
still to do, but yes.
Oh, I really want to see it.
Amazing. I think you're so brave. I really,
brave.
really do. To go out there and kind of talk about this is a really, really brave thing to do. And I'm so glad you came on to talk to us about it. Thank you. I've just got to kind of do a bit of a caveat that once I was a vegan, and I feel like if I don't tell you this, then I'll feel weird about it. But I did the full vegan thing, not for health benefits, from an animal kind of. I just was always a guilty meat eater. I felt bad about it. But I'm not anymore, by the way. I'm not. And it's because I was eating so unhealthily and so much processed crap. And I was actually putting weight on. So I'm not. But I don't know why I felt the need to confess that to you.
Well, most people did go on some sort of plant-based journey. They actually they finally find the sapien way after, because that's kind of what the mainstream leads them to. They think the mainstream tells them they have to be plant-based to be healthy, and it's good for the environment, it's good for the animals. And so they get health aware, and then they try that, and then they realize it's wrong and it's absolutely false. And then but it's good. It's part of the journey. And then they find keto, carnivore, paleo, Whole30, any of these like good ways of eating. So it's fine.
Oh, thank you.
She feels like she's had validation and acceptance.
No, I do, because it is part of the journey. And I think even when we were talking about like the whole COVID thing and, everything, it's been a journey. There were lots of things at the beginning I was thinking, oh, I mustn't do that. And within very short time, I was like, oh my God, what are they all talking about? So it was learning and going down different holes and
it's the same with alcohol, isn't it, Lisa, though, as well? Because how many times did we go, let's not drink, I'm going to try not drinking in the week, I'm going to try just drinking on Saturdays, I'm going to try this drink, I'm going to change that. It takes time to come in and out and up and down before you find what you're looking for.
And then you eventually wake up. Yes. And I love that you've gathered all this information, and I cannot wait to watch it. So good luck getting it out there and playing the game for a bit, because it's very hard to do that sometimes when
patience is a virtue. That's what they say. Patience is a virtue. We have one question that we ask all our guests, Brian. Hopefully you'll be able to answer this. Our motto is be brave, be kind, be sober. Which one do you most relate to right now, and why?
Ooh.
Brave, kind, and sober.
I say brave because you just told me I was brave. No, I do feel that way. Just to do something big, go against the system. It does take somewhat of brave. I don't feel brave at all, really. It's just fun to do, and it's just a message I want to get out. But I appreciate you calling me brave. Yeah,
you are brave. It is a really brave thing to do, and I'm glad it's fun, because brave is not always fun. So it's good to see that it's fun for you. So thank you so much. I'm definitely going to be checking out the Sapien where I'm really interested in it.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I'll see you.
See you later. Thank you.